In this session, I'll be updating you on some of the scientific discoveries that have been uncovered by the Artemis II mission, which has started its mission on April 1, 2026 and is expected to conclude it with a splashdown in San Diego in April 10, 2026. The team has moved with the Orion spacecraft technology and has moved from the Earth down to the moon and orbiting around the moon without landing on the moon. So let's look at some of the selected discoveries that they have uncovered as scientific breakthroughs. So the last lunar mission of landing where man actually landed on the moon took place by Apollo 17 in the year 1972, and more than 50 years thereafter, man has not gone back to the moon. And so Orion spacecraft with Artemis II is now the first crew test, which is testing the flight of the Space Launch System rockets and the Orion spacecraft. The Orion spacecraft is the new technology, which is the advanced spacecraft technology over the spacecraft technology used by the Apollo team in traveling to the moon. So far so good. There is no landing of human being on the moon as at now by the Artemis mission. Rather, there is only a flyby of the Orion spacecraft with human team on board around the lunar system, which is the moon. And this is for the purpose of testing the deep space systems, which is the Orion spacecraft system, for future landing on the moon by human being. This mission started on April 1, 2026 at the Kennedy Space Center. Currently, as at the time of producing this video, which is April 7, the team has spent 7 days orbiting around the moon and returning back to the Earth. So let's look at some of the discoveries which I've selected in this video to update you on what the team have uncovered for scientific progress. First, there has been a flight path that has been developed for the Artemis II mission. This is the flight path, such that right from the Earth here, right from Houston in the United States, there will be a lift off of the Orion spacecraft, which will travel around the Earth, orbit around the Earth from point 1, orbit this way. It will go around and it will continue at point 3 this way, such that it will complete at least 360 degrees around the Earth. And at this point 4, the trajectory will be redirected towards the direction of the moon, and so it will follow path 4 to path 5 and move around this way till it will be able to travel behind the moon, which was completed yesterday, April 6th. After that, the spacecraft will then travel back, carrying the team travel back to the Earth, after which there will be a splashdown at San Diego at point 10. So as at April 6, 2026, the team with the Orion space system has been able to travel behind the moon, right? And there are a lot of scientific discoveries that have been uncovered, which we are going to look. So one of the discovery is that the Orion space system, after leaving the Earth, getting very close to the behind the moon, it was observed that the lunar gravitational force took over the Orion spacecraft as against the Earth's gravitational force. Now, the gravitational force is that force that holds human being, attach human being, and objects on Earth, attach it to the Earth, such that human being does not fall from the Earth. The gravitational force of the Earth is at least 6 times effective more than the lunar gravitational force. So what this means practically is that if you weigh 60 kilograms on Earth, tendency exists that if you get to the moon, you are going to weigh 10 kilograms. Not because there has been changes in your weight, but because of the change from the Earth's gravitational force to the lunar gravitational force. So the implication of this to the Orion spacecraft is that there is need for extra technical skills or efficiency to be able to propel and control the Orion spacecraft. NASA team actually prepared for it, and they were able to navigate the Orion spacecraft successfully behind the moon with the lunar gravitational force. In addition, the Artemis II team also had the closest approach over the lunar far side, that is behind the moon, which led to at least 4,067 miles travel behind the moon. That is to say, the distance between the Orion space system and the back of the moon was up to 4,067 miles that the space system actually traveled behind the moon. And the advantage of this is that it gave the scientific community a complete geographical observation of the moon, an holistic observation of the moon, with all sides being observed, and that is the purpose of orbiting around the moon. This is a great advancement for the scientific community. While the Artemis II team traveled behind the moon, there was a blackout, which was disconnection in communication system between the Orion space system and the Houston Mission Control Center. And this disconnection, which is called blackout, lasted for approximately 41 minutes between 6:44 p.m. Eastern Time and 7:25 p.m. Eastern Time. That is approximately 10:44 p.m. GMT and 11:25 p.m. GMT. So within these 41 minutes, there was total blackout, which was disconnection of communication between the Orion space system and the control center in Houston. And as NASA has prepared in advance, the Orion space system was able to do self-navigation behind the moon within these 41 minutes without any control or interference from the control center. And this is called the autonomous navigation system. This itself shows the superiority or efficiency of the new spacecraft system, which is the Orion spacecraft system, over the spacecraft system used by the Apollo team more than 50 years ago. So this confirms the advancement in technology with NASA spacecraft system. This also confirmed that the crew within the Earthrise spacecraft could independently work on their own without the management of the people at the Houston Control Center, showing an independent crew managing the system. Again, confirming the autonomous navigation system and crew and communication independence with the Orion space system. Again, this confirms an advancement in the travel spacecraft. So another great breakthrough is that the Artemis II team have been able to travel from Florida down to the moon or around the moon, right, with more than 4,100 miles, more than what Apollo 13 was able to cover. Apollo 13 was able to cover nothing less than 248,645 miles, which as at then was considered to be the human farthest travel away from the Earth. But as at April 6, 2026, with the Artemis II team, which has been able to travel nothing less than 252,756 miles away from the Earth, which takes up to 4,111 miles, more than what Apollo 13 actually covered. This confirms the first human farthest travel outside the Earth. Similarly, with communication from Houston with the team after the Orion space system left behind the moon, this communication system establishes the first human farthest communication system away from the Earth. And so this again gives advancements in technology and more discoveries in science. which are part of the breakthroughs we celebrate with Artemis II mission. So another truth that was uncovered by Artemis II team on April 6 was the total eclipse of the sun by the moon. And from the moon, as you can see, here is the moon, which is covering the image of the sun. And all we can see is just the light ray from the sun around the moon. In fact, it got to a point where there was a complete eclipse of the sun. And this again confirms what have been documented in science discoveries. This eclipse lasted for approximately 57 minutes while the Artemis II mission traveled behind the moon. Again, this confirms to us that if man has to travel to the moon, then man has to consider daytime and nighttime on the moon. Man also has to consider the radiation system right on the moon. And this will help science to be able to forecast for the solar storm. It will also help astronauts towards estimating for the radiation safety for the safety of the astronauts on the moon. This information is also very, very helpful for the planning of the Artemis III mission for the year 2028, as it has already been planned. And finally, it will also help science to be able to estimate for the lunar impact frequency. All these are part of the importance of the eclipse of the sun by the moon. So another very interesting truth that was uncovered on April 6 by the Artemis II was the unnamed lunar craters. The craters are big bowl right on the moon. Let's say this is the moon, right? This is the moon. We then have bowl like this, right? We could have bowl like this. All these bowls are created as consequences of the meteoroid or asteroid, which are the space rock. The space rock, once those space rock are coming, they eventually hit the surface of the moon. The effect of that is it creates a big bowl effect. So this big bowl effect are called the lunar craters, right? So lunar crater. So there are a lot of lunar craters on the moon. One of the lunar craters is the Apollo basin. So the Artemis II mission, while they were traveling around the moon, they were able to discover new craters that have been established or created on the lunar, which are yet to be named by the scientific community. So the Artemis II team has suggested two names for two lunar craters. One is Integrity, which is the lunar crater located somewhere here on the moon. Integrity is named after the Orion spacecraft for the Artemis II. The name for the Orion spacecraft, which is a home on its own while they are in the moon, is Integrity. So the team has suggested that this crater on the moon should be named Integrity. The second crater has been suggested to be named Caro. Caro is the name of the wife of the team commander, who is a Wiseman. Caro died in May 2020 as a result of cancer, while the husband, Wiseman, was already planning for the Artemis II mission. So the Artemis II team has suggested that the second crater should be named after Caro. However, these two names are still suggestions by the team. It is left for the International Astronomical Union to decide if these suggestions will be sealed up and these two craters will be called Integrity and Caro. So we, the scientific community, will be very, very happy for the International Astronomical Union to kindly approve these two names in honor of the Orion Space System and in honor of Caro, the wife of Wiseman. So these are some of the selected scientific breakthroughs that have been uncovered by the Artemis II mission while they were orbiting behind the moon on April 6, 2026. We expect this team to have a splashdown at San Diego in April 10, 2010, that is in the next 3 days. I'll continue to update you on the progress of the team. Meanwhile, I'll leave you with the video of the Artemis II mission on how they communicated with the control center on the naming of the lunar craters that were discovered. Endeavor to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share this video. Till I see you in the next scientific discovery. Always remain happy. Bye for now.
Thank you, Houston. We have a couple more things we'd like to take this moment for. Our science team helped us out with a couple of relatively fresh craters on the moon that have not been previously named, and our crew would like to propose a couple of potential names for those items or those areas. And we spent a bit of time this morning looking out the window, and we're able to see them now both with our naked eye and through the long lens, and so we feel this is a good time to send this down, and a special shout out to Kelsey for helping us with this. The first one we'd like to suggest is a named crater in honor of our great spacecraft integrity. And so if you were to look at Oriental on the far side and then draw a line straight up to Ohm on the far side, relatively in the middle is an unnamed crater, and we would like to suggest it be called Integrity in the future. And the second one, and especially meaningful for this crew, is a number of years ago we started this journey in our close-knit astronaut family, and we lost a loved one. And there's a feature in a really neat place on the moon, and it is on the near side, far side boundary. In fact, it's just on the near side of that boundary, and so at certain times of the moon's transit around Earth, we will be able to see this from Earth. And so we lost a loved one. Her name was Carol, the spouse of Reed, the mother of Katie and Ellie. And if you want to find this one, you look at Glushko, and it's just to the northwest of that, at the same latitude as Ohm, and it's a bright spot on the moon. And we would like to call it Carol, and you spell that C-A-R-R-O-L-L.
Integrity and Carol Crater, loud and clear. Thank you.